Hi creative friends, this is Soraya and thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to be working in my color art journal today, and I'll just do a very quick flip through. This is my cover and I went with a neutral. This is my cool dominated page. This is my warm to hot dominated page. This is magenta. This is green. This is my Payne's gray. Actually, I use my chalk paint and ink, and so it's very cool and neutral dominated. This is my limited palette of titanium white, yellow ochre, and Payne's gray. And I decided that for this spread, I am only going to use two materials. I'm going to be using my graphite stabillo, and I'm going to be using my Cashew chalk paint. Now, first of all, this book is falling apart, and I've only had that happen to one other cardboard children's book. Usually the spines hold really well, but I don't know if I just applied too much liquid or I really don't know what happened. I tried to hot glue it together, but it just came apart, so I'm just gonna leave it as is. It's not really concerning to me. And I also have the background, so I'm not just using like white paper, which would be very different, because if I'm using white paper and now I'm only using two materials, it's going to be a lot different than me working over top of this spread, because I've got a lot of collage and color. I've got tea bags here, I've got dictionary pages, I've got some cardstock, some of my own handmade collage. I've just got like a lot of stuff on here already, so that makes it a lot easier. It's still going to be a challenge, I know, because I'm going to want to grab a color. I might want to grab pink or orange or blue or whatever, but for the purposes of this book, I'm really trying to push myself and just go with the whatever challenge I set for myself for the spread. So I'm only going to use these two materials, and I'm going to start off by just doing a sketch. And right off the bat, I kind of see like I can put a face, like this can be the hair, and I want to retain as much of the background as I possibly can and use it to my advantage for obvious reasons, because I'm not going to be able to use any other materials or colors. So I'm going to use what's on the page. And let's go like so. And I'm going to drag it onto here. And then I am also going to put another figure over here. And like that's not looking right, so I am going to just erase that and make the face a little bit longer here. So even though I do want to use as much of the background as possible, I also still have to think about how am I going to, separate the foreground from the background? How am I going to you know, do the hair, etc. And we're just gonna kind of go like so. And you guys, there are an infinite amount of challenges that you can do. Like you can have a limited palette, you can have limited art materials, you can have both, like I'm doing in this spread, because I'm only using these two materials. Like, you know, I'm not saying that for this particular spread, like even though these are two of the same colors pretty much, this is ink, an ink color, so it's kind of like a Payne's gray, and this is graphite. So they're very, like, they're almost the same colors, but for this spread, I'm challenging myself to only use these two materials. So I'm not going to go for the paint, even though I want to. I'm just going to stick with what I set out to kind of use, and that way I'm just going to kind of challenge myself. And I do love a stabillo that's been activated with water. Like, you just get the most luscious, delicious, juiciest marks, honestly. And I'm just gonna like dip all of that in because I want that like I want that like really inky kind of a feel here. And I think what I'm gonna do is I am going to use this Cashew and just block in the whole background, because I mean, I want the, you know, all the stuff that's on the page, the collage, the tea bags, the colors that I had already put on the page, I want all of that to stand out. And in order for me to have that happen, I have got to, you know, I've got to have a background that's going to be like a solid neutral that's gonna like make everything else stand out. Otherwise it's gonna be too jumbled up. I'm sorry, I know that's probably not a good term, but it's just, it jumbles up my brain to kind of like look at it and try to figure out what's going on. So now I can see that, you know, all the stuff that's on the page is showing through, but I'm also still going to, I think I'm still going to neutralize this over here with my graphite and my chalk paint. So I am so this is going to be a little bit tricky because I do have some of the, you know, some of the background does have some grays in it, but, you know, because I limited myself so much with my materials and my colors, I'm really kind of forced to either go with a black, the, you know, kind of white, it's really a cream, or a gray, because, you know, if I mix the two up, I'm gonna get a gray. And I think I'm just gonna go with a black, like with the like I'm really loving this actually. It's just so juicy. Now I'm probably gonna have to allow this to completely dry just so I don't, you know, mess it up. I didn't want this to be in two parts, but it might have to be, because I want it to dry naturally and I want to retain like all this juiciness here. Like, I'm actually really loving this. This is surprising. When I say it's surprising, I mean, like, you know, my first inclination would be to go for a color, but when you limit your palette like this, it really forces you to be more creative and to use colors that you wouldn't normally use. Like, if I could choose any color, I might go for like a red or an orange or a yellow or something like that. But because I'm forced to, you know, kind of use what I set the challenge to be, I am now, you know, I'm more restricted, but that also allows me to be more creative. And I think I'm gonna like go like this. And I don't know if I'm gonna do both sides of the hair, but I think I'm gonna do certainly some of the hair. And I'm just gonna bring some of those juicy marks in here. Now this does look a lot like the neutral palette that I did a couple of pages back, but I think it is different because for that particular spread, I used my ink paint, which is the Payne's Gray, and for this one, I'm using the Cashew. So it is going to be a little bit different. Okay, you guys, I am going to allow this to completely dry. Well, let me just put one more coat of this Cashew. And honestly, I really want to just go in and use my burnt sienna. I really do, but I'm not going to because, you know, that's my go-to. I love using my burnt sienna, but this whole book is for me to challenge myself, to learn, to grow, etc. So I'm not going to reach for what I would normally reach for. So I am going to allow this to completely dry, and then we're going to come back. Now, I could call this finished, honestly. I could. You know, I'm happy with it, but I feel like it still needs to, I just need some like finishing touches here. But, you know, depending on the person, this absolutely could be considered complete. But I'm going to do a part 2 to it. Well, anyways, if you've watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. I hope this has been inspiring to you to limit your materials that you use, limit your colors, and to set challenges for yourself. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.